Let's start for the Wahl-O-Mat. The next election will be in Saxony Anhalt, Sachsen-Anhalt. And it's an interesting election because it seems to be that the AfD will be the most elected party in this federal state. How this whole works, I told you in the first video. So young voters for the first or second time are invited to give their ideas. What is the most important thing? Then there is a committee which looks through those theses, through those statements, and then they hand over the statements to the parties. The parties answer these statements, and if these statements differ, they put it into the Wahl-O-Mat. So if every party said the same, so you don't put it in the Wahl-O-Mat because all the parties answered the same. So let's start. What is important for Saxony-Anhalt? All shops in Saxony-Anhalt should be allowed to open on Sundays as well. There's a video about this and shop opening hours, and I personally would disagree. No, it should stay as it is. Primary schools should largely refrain from using digital devices in the classroom. This is an interesting point. In, I don't know, Scandinavia, Denmark, or Sweden, they were very far in using digital devices, and now they move back. And I think, no, in primary schools, you should not use them, maybe as a blackboard or whatever, but not in general. So I agree. The expansion of wind power in Saxony-Anhalt is to be accelerated. This is an interesting point. At the moment, we have this issue that in France, in Romania, in Hungary, nuclear power plants had to be shut down or their output reduced because they lack of cooling water. And with others, it's the same. So I think, yes, it should be accelerated. The state government should support the establishment of arms companies in Saxony-Anhalt. Yeah, so I don't know why not. So there are some like Kraus Maffei Wegmann. I think they make tanks, and we have Heckler and Koch and so on. But there are only a few around. So why shouldn't they be in Saxony-Anhalt? I would agree. In Saxony-Anhalt, a speed limit of 30 kilometers is to apply to more roads within city limits. Well, I don't know why. So we have this signs for a 30-kilometer zone. We can limit them for other reasons. So I don't know why it should be applied, especially there. So yes, you can do it. I'm neutral. Saxony-Anhalt should provide more places for possible detention pending deportation. An interesting point. The whole issue with deportation is not so easy because, for example, you have somebody from a certain country. He claims, I am from whatever, don't know, Afghanistan, for example. And if you want to send them back, the country must take him back. So if somebody says, yes, I come from Afghanistan, do you have any passport? No. So we ask in Afghanistan, do we get his passport? No. We can't send him back because the state don't offer us the right papers. But at the same time, sometimes people who had to be sent back, they hide. So I don't know how many places there are, but it's an issue. Yes, it could be that's needed. So I'm neutral on this. The state should promote the takeover of private hospitals by public ownership. For me, yes. It's of course all the time an issue with hospitals as a whole. And some people ask, why should somebody make money out of a state-funded concept? Because this whole thing with statutory health insurance, and there is even more money from taxpayers into these hospitals. And then there are private-owned hospitals with shareholders who want to make a profit. And the whole system, from my point of view, shouldn't make profits or a lot of profits. So, yes, I agree on this. Parents should continue to contribute to the cost of childcare in daycare centers. I don't know how it works in Saxony Anhalt. In some countries, there is the last year before the school is free. For a sibling, it's free. Some have a second year for free. I don't know how it is in Saxony Anhalt. In general, I think yes, they could contribute to the costs. In North Rhine-Westphalia, it depends on how much you earn. If you earn a lot, you have to pay higher contributions. If you earn few, you have to pay nearly no contribution. So yes, I think they should continue. Saxony-Anhalt should advocate for the initiation of a ban proceeding against extremist parties. To understand this text, it's not so easy in English. Saxony-Anhalt should advocate for the initiation of a ban proceeding against extremist. Okay, so Saxony-Anhalt should initiate the ban against extremist parties. It's currently an issue because some claim the AfD is against the constitution, but only our highest court can rule out if it is or it's not. In another video, I showed you that two parties were already banned in the 1950s, I think, one right wing and one communist party. And I don't know, 10 years ago, it was up on another right wing party where the Constitutional Court says, yes, they are against the Constitution, but they have so limited power with only a few percent, they will never be in charge. Now the issue is the AfD has, depending on where you are, 10, 20, here it might be up to 40%. So they could be in charge. And now it's a question, could you still go to the highest court or not? Unfortunately, not a single person could say, no, start it. It has to be the Bundesrat, which is the whole federal states, the community of federal states, which have to ask for this, or the Bundestag could also ask for this. At the moment, only few do it. So it's not enough to go to the court to say, yes, do it. And the whole ban proceeding is you go to the court and say, okay, court, please have a look. Is this against the constitution or not? And then the court decides. So even if they initiate it, they don't decide on it. The court will decide. I think, yes, if you think about it could be an extremist party, then you should also check it out and ban this party or not. There are to be few regulations for livestock farming in Saxony-Anhalt. Interesting point. So we have different rules on livestock farming for animal protection and so on, and maybe there are so many rules on this that the German farmers have a disadvantage against other farmers. I don't know if in the whole EU the same standards apply. I think so. But there are also farmers outside the EU where people don't care. And maybe we also get things from there. I personally think we shouldn't have fewer regulations. The others should have higher regulations. So the regulations in Saxony-Anhalt, I think they won't be different to the other federal states in Germany. So I don't think it should be fewer. I disagree with this. Secondary schools and comprehensive schools are to be merged into a single school type. I think the only federal state which still has only the three traditional school types, Hauptschule, Realschule, Gymnasium, is Bavaria. All the others have also or only these comprehensive schools. or this single type, Gesamtschule, or sometimes Gesamtschule and Sekundarschule. I think it's a benefit if they also have Gesamtschule, Sekundarschule, and as well the old school types. Do the old school types have to force into a single? I don't think so. So I disagree. Saxony Anhalt should advocate for gas imports from Russia. We should get away from fossil fuels. We shouldn't support Russia in its war against Ukraine. So no, strictly no. Saxony Anhalt is to establish a state-owned housing company for social housing constructions. That's a nice idea. Yes, I think, I don't know if it's state-owned or municipality-owned, but this is a good idea because this is very beneficial, as you see in Vienna. There's a very big public-owned housing company, or there's a lot of public-owned housing, and it's very beneficial. So yes, I agree. The 5% threshold for state elections in Saxony-Anhalt is to be retained. I don't know why. I think the 5% hurdle is fine. I really don't know if there are any other federal states which do not have this 5% threshold. For example, for these minorities like the Südschleswische Wählerverband, what is mentioned as a pregnancy week, very funny thing. They don't belong to the 5% threshold because they advocate for a minority. But in general, I think the 5% is fine. Is to be retained. No. Primary school in Saxony-Anhalt is to be extended until the 6th grade. I think this is done in Brandenburg and Berlin. I don't know how beneficial it is or not. I think some think that it's better to stay longer together. I don't know, so I'm neutral. The killing of women because of their gender, femicide, is to be documented separately in the crime statistics in Saxony-Anhalt. Could be, don't know. So yes, it is a fact that many women are killed, femicide, just because they are women, or these circumstances, because very often male people do this for different reasons. Maybe it's beneficial, I don't know. Saxony-Anhalt should continue to take measures to achieve climate neutrality. Continue to take measures. Yes, of course. If you don't measure it, you can't see how good you are. Yes. Able-bodied recipients of state basic income support should be required to perform community service. This is a interesting point. In the EU, slavery is forbidden. And probably this is not slavery, okay. But I think you cannot force people to work. The only thing where you can do it is conscripts in the army, or the exempt if you do civil service instead. Therefore, you could do it. I personally think if you can do something, it's better that those people do something, clean a street, take care for whatever, children walking to school and so on dangerous crossroads also. I think it's beneficial. I don't know if you could do it, so I stay neutral. Writing styles that linguistically represent gender diversity using special characters like asterisk, underscore, or colon should be prohibited in state authorities. I have a whole video on genders, and most people know we have three grammatic genders: male, female, and neuter. And normally we would address die Ärztinnen und Ärzte, so the female doctors and the male doctors. Sometimes we write down Ärzt and then an underscore innen to say it's the male and the female and whatever it is. The funny thing is that many people say, oh, you are forced to use it. And here it's you're forced to not use it. Because nobody forces anybody to use this. It's free. If you want to do it, you can do it. There are good reasons why it's not so easy for blind people if you have a system which reads the text and so on. But why should it be prohibited? You should do it in the same way as a state. Yes, it looks strange if you do it sometimes yes, sometimes no. So I don't think you should prohibit it. The state should finance a free Germany ticket for all pupils in Saxony Anhalt. I think it's a good idea. If they can afford it, I think it's fine. The police in Saxony Anhalt should be allowed to use software for the automated analysis of large amounts of data as part of criminal prosecution. It's always the same. You think, okay, I'm a fine person. I did nothing wrong, so it's fine to look at my data. Is it really? Is everybody a suspect? There are pros and cons. I don't know. I stay neutral. The country should advocate for the introduction of a wealth tax. Another topic in Germany. Usually we say that stronger people can earn more things and weaker people have limited taxes to pay. But at that point, there's this issue. If you earn more than, let's say, 500,000 or €1 million a year, then most people can decide how much tax they want to pay because they have so many possibilities. They buy a new house and let it for rent, and this purchase will deduct their taxes in the first year, so it's lowered and so on and so on. And the normal employee can't do this. He simply can't do this, and that is a certain point where you say, it's not fine. And these wells is very often that they have 2, 3, 5, 20 million in shares on a bank account, in property, and so on. And some of them take a loan on this wealth, don't have an income, and just live through this loan. So I think the wealth tax would be fine. The state should enable the establishment of drug consumption rooms with medical supervision. Yeah, this is an issue. Very often you have this part that you have people who are on drugs, and to have a clean room with clean surroundings and this medical overview, it would be beneficial because it's kind of an illness with this. No matter if you addicted to drug, addicted to gambling, addicted to alcohol, it is a problem and you need help. And I think that would be beneficial. In schools in Saxony Anhalt, the traditional family model, father, mother, children, should be given priority. I think it is given priority because in most books I see there are a lot of families with father, mother, and children, sometimes combined, sometimes there is only a mother, and so on. But it's a fact, so I think there is given priority. So I don't think there is to be more priority. So I'm neutral on this. The debt brake is to be removed from the constitution of the state of Saxony-Anhalt. There is a certain legislation that you can't make more debts than a certain amount to keep the whole budget stable. With the last election, there was, let's say, a trick. They made more debts because of, for example, the German army, which needs more and newer weapons and so on, and the infrastructure and this kind of things. I'm not so good in economics, so I will stay neutral because in general, the debts you make now is an advantage for the future. But to make too many debts, it's like in the US or it was in Greece. When you make too many debts, that will be problem at some point. The country should continue to support projects against right-wing extremism. Yeah, of course. Even left-wing extremism, but especially the right-wing extremism is a problem. And the police said there are more and more right-wing threats in the last year. So yes. New highways are to be planned for Saxony Anhalt. I don't know if they need more. Maybe again there is planning of some highway or not. I don't know if they need more, so I stay neutral on this. The recommendation of the primary school should be binding when transition to secondary school. I don't know how binding it is currently. The teachers usually have a good overview of the pupils and how they probably will have a chance at a certain kind of secondary school. If they would have only these combined schools like Sekundarschule or Gesamtschule, then it would be meaningless because if you are better in a certain subject, you can make more difficult tests in that subject and get a higher grade in that subject, while in others you stay low. Um, uh, I stay neutral on this. Benefits for asylum seekers will continue to be provided via a payment card instead of cash. The issue at this point is usually is it more bureaucracy to have this payment card instead of giving them cash? And the other way around is, do you trust asylum seekers? Because some people say they send a lot of money back home in their countries because that is a lot of money there at home. But usually, this payment they get should provide them suitable life here or suitable living conditions here. So if it's not a massive more bureaucracy for the state to give this payment card, I think they could continue to give it to them. Research for military purpose should continue to be permitted at the country's universities. It's similar to this other part with the weapons. The whole thing is, do you accept that you need weapons in the country for the army, that you produce these weapons, that you make this military research? Do you accept it? And those people who say, no, I don't want to have weapons, I don't want to have war, I don't have violence at all, they will not agree on this. I myself was in the army, so it should continue to be permitted. The costs for in-company vocational training are to be covered by a fund into which all companies in Saxony-Anhalt must pay. Interesting point. We have different kinds of these funds. For example, for maternity leave. Every company has to pay into this fund, and those companies who have a woman which is in maternity which is pregnant, they will get back money from this, because otherwise many companies don't want to employ women or women during maternity, and to cover this, every company has to pay in, and so only those who have maternity pregnant women, they have a benefit on this. This could be a similar thing. So every company has to pay in vocational training, and only those who really have apprentice, they benefit from it. I think it's a nice idea. I don't think on all the bureaucracy with this, but in general, I think this is a nice idea. Schools should strengthen democratic education as a mandatory part of the curriculum. If they don't do it, yes, they should do it, of course. So I don't know how much they do already. If it's not enough, then I agree. Saxony Anhalt should work to ensure the long-term preservation of the Altmark military training area in the Colbitz-Letzlinger Heide. Oh, this is a special local thing. It was like the ferry in well, Baden-Württemberg. I don't know the different things. The funny part is, if you have the military training area, many species of animals and so on live there because it's very peacefully inside this area. Because inside this area where the shooting ranges lead to, nobody is there, so they are not disturbed. It's just the noise of whatever they are doing, they're shooting and so on. But in general, they are this is beneficial. Otherwise, you would have to make an area, a preservation area with ranges and so on. I don't know how the situation is there, so I stay neutral. The purchase of one's first owner-occupied residential property will be financially supported by the states. Interesting point. So the first residential property, house or apartment I would buy would be financially supported by the state. In a long run, this is beneficial because rents usually raise over time. Not necessarily much, but they will raise. And if you are a pensioner, that could be a problem. I think it's a good idea. Don't know how much, don't know how complex it will be, but I think the idea is nice. A measles vaccination requirement will be continue to apply for attending a daycare center in Saxony Anhalt. There are a few people who are strictly against vaccination. The measles, interesting point, the measles could be erased from Earth if every kid would be vaccinated, but it's still not so. We have still measles. It's like the smallpox. The smallpox were erased because of a very harsh vaccination program, and I think Kinderlähmung, I don't know the English word for it, could also be erased. And the only two parts I think is Pakistan and Afghanistan where they are still active, but they come back here in Europe as well. And the problem is you don't have a vaccinated kid, but the kid should attend the daycare center because it's very important to stay at least a year or two in daycare centers before you go to school. But at the same time, measles vaccinations for all who could get it, because there are a few who can't get it, is very important. Mm, mm, I agree. Saxony Anhalt should recruit skilled workers from abroad. If they need, yes. Maybe that's why you watch my channel. The country should work to reverse the planned phase out of lignite fire power generation. The phase out of lignite fire power generation. I don't know what this is. Maybe Braunkohle or something like this. So this coal near the surface. It's a planned phase out, and it's fire powered, so it's fossil fuel. No, they don't should reverse it. Young people aged 16 and over should also be allowed to vote in state elections as in Anhalt. Maybe. So I don't care. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So I'm fine with this. But I don't know the situation in Saxony Anhalt, so I stay neutral. So we could now weigh these things. Sunday opening is very important for me. Whatever would be so We could do other things, what is more or less. So it wouldn't make sense to say, I don't know, neutral. Okay, let's say, okay, no, we do not reverse the coal phase out. Ah, yeah, coal. It was probably this. We call it Braunkohle. So now I could select at least one party, but I do it with all parties. So what do we have? The CDU is the conservatives, the AfD is more right wing, the left is they call it democratic socialists. These are the social democrats. These are the liberals. These are greens. These are usually yeah, in municipalities, voters who don't belong to a party, and then there are some other parties. This is a more European party. So, what is my result? Animal welfare lines. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's very unlikely that they will get anything. Oh, there are two of these. I did not know. So I never heard of this alliance. I heard of this animal welfare party. This is a bit older one. Yeah, 1993. I never saw that they were elected into any parliament. Volt, this is a more European party. Um, Here are the Greens left. SPD, they are the free voters. The party, for example, this is a more satirical party. Also, I don't know if they were in any parliament, but I think they have one or two members at the European Parliament. Garden Party. I was a gardener. What's that? Hmm, whatever. So these are things I would have. And are there any others onto tuning? So I could also tune up things here and check it out. So these are the questions for the election in Saxony Anhalt. Um, will be in will be interesting what will be the outcome. The next two times I will do the same thing. I think there will be also an election in Berlin and in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. So the next two videos will be also on the Wahl-O-Mat for the other two elections, which will take place in September. So remarks, addition, and comments in the comments. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.